everybody, and welcome to another edition of Joe's Rod Shop podcast. Right, let's get into this one. Now, first off, click that like and subscribe button. Doesn't matter what platform you're on, Facebook, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, you name it, they all have a subscribe and a like button. So just click that button for us, and you'll get a notification. We actually put these shows out. And go to our Facebook page, give us some feedback. Tell us who you want us to talk to. Always great to hear from everyone. All right, this episode is brought to you by SA Hot Rods Media. Guys, if you've got a shop and you're in the motor industry and you use social media, you're not getting a response and stuff that you want, and it's too daunting, just talk to us. This is what we do. So give us a call. Go to sahotrods.com. There's a whole bunch of buttons there where from want to be on the podcast to want to be on the TV show to help me promote my brand. Just click on it, send us a message, and we're happy to get back to you guys. All right, now on to today's show. So in 2012 was the first ever SpeedWeek event. Now I went through with a crew and we actually shot the whole thing. But now, when I did the TV show back then, I only had like 8-9 minutes I could fill, but I had so much footage. So I made an extended version, like a mini documentary on the whole thing. That is on Ignition this weekend. Go check it out. It's called The Rod Shop Goes to SpeedWeek. And it's the whole thing, myself and a whole bunch of rodders from when we left Cape Town, how we got there, the racing there, there's interviews. It's absolutely brilliant. Go check out the Rod Shop's Facebook page. All the times and stuff is listed on there for when it is out. Check it out. Tell us what you guys think. It's going to be beautiful. But now that gets me to today's guest, because SpeedWeek was phenomenal. And for the guys who were involved and all the guys that went would obviously know Jan Els, who set up the whole thing, passed away about a year or two ago. But one of his business partners, Peter Westcott, who was the one guy that I dealt with, who actually became one of my closest friends. He was still there and he was involved. And we got him on the show to talk about everything. So sit back, relax, and here's my friend, Peter Westcott. And we are talking to Peter from SpeedWeek. How are you, my friend?
I am very well. I guess with the whole COVID thing, we're not living at home or, working at home anymore. We're kind of living at work. So the lines are blurred for me between home and work.
I think you're far from home at the moment. Where are you at the moment?
I am up in West Africa, in Benin. I'm busy doing a project for MTN on their network up here. So now, yeah, I'm far away from home.
Now, for everyone that don't know, Peter is one of the founding fathers of SpeedWeek. I want to tell the story of this. So John Jeffrey gave me a call and said that there was going to be a Bonneville type event at Kaatski and Putt.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And if I remember correctly, I found the details and I phoned you the first time.
That was correct. Yeah. You actually saw it in the Mango In-Flight magazine.
Yes,
as well, wasn't it?
It was in the Mango In-Flight. And
yes,
little would I know that it would turn out to be going to one of the best events in my life, but I would also meet one of my dearest, closest friends ever. So Peter, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. Peter's been a massive
thank you for having me, Joe.
He's been a massive supporter of the podcast and everything. He's just an awesome guy. Now, SpeedWeek. The reason why we're doing this whole nostalgic going back is the documentary I did on the first SpeedWeek is on Ignition this weekend. It's about a half an hour long. And that's kind of, it changed it for all of us, didn't it?
Yeah, there was an event that I tell you what, it's changed me forever. And nothing that I've ever done since then has ever been able to make up for the void that it's left.
Now, how did it all come together? I mean, was you and Wimjan,
Yeah, so
what happened?
what actually happened was around about 2011, Jan Els and another gentleman whose name escapes me had decided that they were going to do SpeedWeek. Okay. And they had kind of drafted it on paper, and it was always a bit of a long shot for them. But anyway, they managed to get a sponsor, but it wasn't enough to really do the event. But they got a hold of me through a mutual friend, and they needed a simple website done. And obviously, the friend asked me to help Jan out. I didn't know him at that point. Had a coffee with him, and the idea just absolutely grabbed me. And it was just something that just spoke to my petrol head side. And I looked at it and I said, you know what, I want to be part of this. But at that point, the positions were not available, and I needed to let it kind of run its course. Anyway, it didn't really work out for them. They couldn't really get it off the ground. And then beginning of 2012, Jan got a hold of me again and they said, okay, he wants to do this again, but do I know somebody who could possibly help? I said, hell yes, me. So he said, okay, what do I have in mind? I said, what are you talking about? Let's just shoot the lights out. Yeah. And, I come from a corporate background. I understand the corporate mindset. I know what it takes to get really big sponsors involved. And then we kind of sat down, we plotted a course, and then for the next 9 months, it was balls to the wall. And 9 months later, we had SpeedWeek.
It was just, but I mean, for people that didn't go, while we were there, the first thing is you can never, actually, I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. You can never explain the pan to anyone. You can't.
No, you can't.
You can't explain that feeling when you drive onto the pan for the first time, and that vastness. And we were there that first night, and we were all sitting there going, it's the first one. It's just like, it will. Yeah. There will never be the first one again. And I mean, what we as we drove in, what your tanker with the toilets broke, what turned over on the highway.
Everything that could go wrong did go wrong.
Oh man, and we stopped over in this town the night before, because I mean it took us 2 days to get there with breakdowns and everything that we did, and the town didn't have water. So when we stopped in Uppington to refill, luckily I bought, I don't know why, I had that big Dodge Ram, and I bought, I think it was like 10 liters or 20 liters of water and a pack of wet wipes, 2 packets of wet wipes for some other reason. And it turned out we were going to need it because there was nothing. There was no water. There was a bunch of toilets, but we didn't shower or anything. I think it was like 4 or 5 days, but it didn't matter. It absolutely didn't matter. No one was angry about it. It was just, I remember Simon Hartman said it was the best road trip to the best destination, and that always stuck in my head. That always stuck in my head, and it was so true. It was so true.
Yeah,
but I mean,
there was just something.
No, keep going.
There was just something exceptionally magical about it. I mean, Jan grew up in that area, so he knows. He knew what was needed to make it work. But the original site was actually for Niekpan. We were actually going to do it in Niekpan, but there's about a 40-kilometer dirt road that is extremely bad, and it's really hard on axles and tires. And then, as luck would have it, Bloodhound decided to come to South Africa. They had selected Hakskeenpan as the destination. And then Northern Cape Tourism got hold of us and said, listen, why don't you combine your efforts? It's a lot easier to get sponsors involved. It's a lot easier to throw weight behind it. And that's how we ended up on Hakskeenpan. And it is probably the best move we could ever have made. And one of the many memories that actually sticks out for me is, Huxkenpan is it's about 250 kilometers other side of Uppington. And the tar road literally pretty much ends about 500 meters past the gate into Huxkenpan.
Yeah.
So it was like they tarred the road just far enough 5 years before so that we could have a desert speed week with supercars and with hot rods and with anything with wheels.
Because it was just so weird, because I mean, we didn't know what to expect. So you get there and all you had was this gate with a banner that said Speed Week.
Yeah, welcome.
Welcome. And you're like, okay, is this it? And it's on the video, on the documentary, where you see we like rejoicing because we had so many breakdowns and so many everything just getting there. And like you said, and then you hit that pan and you were just completely blown away. And it's like, everything that you just went through was okay just to get there,
Yeah.
You forgot about all the crap that was going to happen while you were there. And then all the crap you had to deal with getting home. But it didn't matter. I said to someone a while back, they were asking me about the event, and I said, I got back home and the next day I phoned everyone and I'm like, I want to go back. And they're like, what? And I'm like, I'll get in the car now. And they're like, yeah, it's another 2 days drive. I'm like, I don't care. I've never had so much remorse leaving an event before ever. Absolutely ever. It was so phenomenal. And the people and how everybody worked together and the infrastructure. I mean, and you guys had massive issues besides for the no water thing. What, you had a wind come up and rip the marquee apart that almost flipped over?
More than once.
More than once?
Yeah.
Almost flipped over
more
land.
Than once.
Yeah.
We had during the 1 year's event, we had almost more aircraft than cars. We had people parking the aircraft between the tents. We had we had obviously the water issues, we had the power issues. But by the second or third year, that was all sorted out, thanks to the likes of MTN. I mean, MTN they were just phenomenal, and listen, I mean, I know it's many years later, but they still got a very special place in my heart because they really made it what it was. Sorry, man. It was I do miss it.
No,
I do really miss it.
Now, a lot of people.
You're gonna cut this part out, right?
No, hell no, dude. No. A lot of people have asked us, why is there no more Speed Week? And I think the thing that people don't understand was what went into creating that event. And I've on this podcast, I've covered a lot, especially when it comes to marketing and promotions and that type of stuff. And people need to understand, for an event, you need numbers. You need thousands of people, because that's what sponsors and stuff want. And having an event 250 kilometers away from the nearest town with no water, no infrastructure, no nothing, it can only house a certain amount of people. You can't have thousands and thousands of people there. It's just it's a fight. It was a fight to keep it running with sponsorship more than anything else.
Yes.
And then
pretty much.
Yeah. So,
and also, I mean, when Jan and I used to, we were up 5 o'clock every morning, like 9 months before the event. And every morning we were planning what we needed to do next. We were planning nights, weekends. We had to send people down regularly to go and check up on progress. There was a lot of organization that had to go into it, because you always want to make it bigger and better. And by the time the event arrives, I am so stressed up. Jan is so stressed up, and we think This is the last one. We're not going to do this again. There is no way in hell we're going to put ourselves through this again. And when I arrive on day one and everybody's there, I completely forget how much pain it was. And then when it's over and we're packing up and the trucks are leaving with all the equipment and we're sitting there on the pan and there's nothing left, and we go, what am I going to do for the next year?
Yeah.
You know, my life is meaningless and empty because all my friends have gone home, all the nice cars have gone home, you know, and it's back to reality. And it's that escape from reality and the absolute camaraderie on the pan that just, I don't think there's anything that I could certainly ever do that would ever top that. I mean, the one event that really, or the one aspect that really stands out for me was, there was a guy who came down with a supercar. Now, a supercar on a pan is never a great idea.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know why they think they wanted to do it, but they wanted to do it anyway. So he starts doing these 2-kilometer donuts on the pan with his R8. And it starts throwing all that dirt into the intakes, and obviously the car goes into limp mode. Mm-hmm. Now, because we have a no recovery policy, I mean, it's just too expensive to recover vehicles. You're kind of on your own. You have to figure out how you're going to get it back to Uppington. So I said to him, you know, your best chance is those hot rodders down there from Cape Town. Have a chat to them. Maybe they can help you. Well, I saw John Jeffries and the boys taking that R8's head off and fixing the car on the pan. And I was like, what are you doing? And they cleaned it up with their hot rod type spanners and their monkey wrenches. And they worked on this R8 supercar and they got it running like a kitten again. I was just gobsmacked.
But that was the craziest thing. It's like with the first year when we were there, myself and John and them drove into that little town and we bought a gearbox that was laying in the dust because John's gearbox gave up. And we had all these guys with supercars and everything, Ferraris and stuff, and they come past and like, what are you guys doing? And we're like, no, we're changing the gearbox. He's like, what do you... In the sand, in the dirt, the guys are just rebuilding cars. I don't think it
was a Ford Cortina gearbox.
Yeah, we found it in the. It's actually it's in the documentary. You can see we were driving around. We find it. We're throwing it back. We were back and we were finding bottle stores, which we didn't have. And we went back and we did it. I mean, the amount of issues we had with trailers and cars breaking down and everything. But the guys were saying, I mean, the rodders from Cape Town, because I mean, it's when Jan even said it, you guys thought you're going to get a much bigger response out of Joburg and all that type of stuff. But I think that the most guys came out of Cape Town.
You know what? The real characters and the people that made SpeedWeek what it is came from Cape Town. The most memorable cars, the most memorable characters, all Cape Townians. There was a fair amount of Johannesburg people who came. In fact, they actually came from all over the country. Yeah. But second to that was the Kimberley crowd.
Yes.
The Kimberley hot rodders. You know, Chris Stokes and that gang. I mean, you know, they were just phenomenal, eh?
Oh, well, Chris Stokes is just, he unfortunately left us like a year ago due to cancer.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it broke my heart completely. I bumped into him when we got there. As Abby and I got there with my Valiant, and I got into him, and like I said, there's them on the pan. It's just, like I said, it's memories that you can never replace. So. And then, of course,
Des Payne.
Yeah,
Des Payne was there as well, remember?
And then there was Greg with the Aventador. Greg
Parton with an Aventador on the pan.
The most expensive supercar in the country. And he's standing there pulling a seat out. Monkey wrenching, pulling the seat out. To see if he can go faster. But now this was the second event, which blew my mind, and it's still to today. The Mustang, the airplane that was there.
Yes. Yes.
Standing at the pan, and you've got that Lambo screaming at the top raves, running past you, and that World War II Mustang plane comes with that above him. My skin just freaks out when I think about it. I get this, that chokes me up every time. And that was one of the most beautiful things I have ever seen in my life. And you, like I said, it's just these things where you want to explain to people how awesome it was. I mean, I did the documentary on the first one, and I didn't shoot the second one, which was actually a good thing because I ended up selling my car at the pan and had to get a lift home. The people would have been so pissed at me. But I was so sad I didn't get that on camera, but that was phenomenal. Hey?
I actually have footage that you can have.
Really?
I've got it doing a flyby, yes.
Oh no, I love that. Oh, that was spectacular. Absolutely spectacular.
Yeah, so that year when the Mustang came, it was I'm trying to remember the gentleman's name, but the Mustang was silver and red.
Yes.
And the Nissan GTR was black and red and silver.
Yes. Yes.
You know, it was purely accidental, but it was so picture perfect with those two top end machines next to each other on the pan.
Oh no,
Menno Parsons, that's his name. Yeah. Menno Parsons.
And you know, we always joke that you can't take a bad photo of a car or a plane on the pan, and we proved it how many times. I mean, Peter. So we get back from the first Speed Week. And the next thing, Peter phones me and yells at me because I was shooting on season 1. I was driving this enormous black Dodge Ram with Jack Daniels branding on the side. And Peter phones me and he's like, that bloody truck of yours is everywhere. I think Jack Daniels got so much publicity out of that thing because it doesn't matter what photo you took somewhere, the Jack truck was sticking out somewhere.
Yeah, it pretty much hogged the limelight.
But look, we'll figure it away. We'll get there again. We'll get back. We must. It will, like we said, it will never be the original one. But I mean, we're coming up now. How many years? When was it? 2012, right? Yeah,
so we did it 2012 to 2015. We've done two All-Star.
Which means next year, but which means next year it's a 10-year anniversary.
10-year anniversary, yes.
So maybe we should do a 10-year reunion.
You know, I don't think anything would make me happier than being able to do that. Because I think it is something that everybody has to experience once. And if you could do it 10 times, even better.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a matter of overcoming those enormous constraints.
Exactly.
And the enormous effort that is needed to actually make it happen.
So if anyone at MTN is going to be listening to this, okay, we want to go back. Help us go back.
You and thousands of people want to go back.
Yes, thousands of people. Sweet. Let's dust aside everybody. I mean, dust aside did so much for that event as well, cutting the roads and stuff. But, but doing the one for when you guys did the All-Star one. I mean, how many kilometer road did dust aside make to get to the All-Star, to the airstrip?
Yeah. So basically, after the first Kalahari Desert Speed Week, I felt really bad that some of the supercars had sustained damage on the pan, and I said to him, Jan, we need to make it up. So how do we do this? We need a long enough piece of road. And he says, well, the only piece of road that's long enough is actually the Uppington International Airport. And I was taken aback because that is that's an international airport, and how on earth are we going to secure it, not just for 2 hours but for 4 days? And it turns out we had a lot of really good government support, and we kind of asked those channels to help us. And 6 months later, we had approval to use Upington for 4 days, because fortunately they have 2 runways and they didn't have any scheduled flights of any heavy aircraft. So we did a site visit. We got there and we realized, okay, here's a small problem. We can't cross over the active runway from the hangars from the military airbase side, because there's too many small aircraft. So we need to build a road which is just under 2 kilometers from the hangar to go around the primary runway so we can reach the main runway. So we sat down with the airports company and said, okay, we want to build an access road. And they were like, you want to do what? Yeah, we want to bring in heavy machinery and you want to grade a road around your active runway so we can get to the runway we want to use. And they're like, you know what? You guys have come so far and you've broken so many rules as it is, you might as well just make the road and just get it done with. So called our sponsors and said, all right, this is it. We need this road. Dusticide was fantastic. They sent out equipment, graded the roads, coated it with water-soluble bitumen so that the supercars have a nice clean ride to the runway. And they would literally open the gates for us at 9 a.m. and close it at 5 a.m. and we could go nuts for 4 days.
Yeah. On
a piece of tar that is 60 meters wide and 5.5 kilometers long.
The most beautiful.
It is so
piece
flat.
Of tar. Yeah.
It is so flat you can actually see the curvature of the earth.
Yes. So all the flat earth people, if you want to see it, go there. Okay, because you can. Yes. And I know, because I raced on it on a skateboard.
Yes, you did. So that's where Altar was born, and then we did the Mafeking SpeedWeek as well. In 2016, we managed to get the Mafeking airport, which is 5.5 kilometers long. Also great event. Not as picturesque as Upington Airport. I mean, there's just something about the Northern Cape that is just magical. It's like a lost world, and I get the sense it wants to remain lost because it wants to be that experience that you never forget.
Exactly.
And truly, it was. I mean, how is that when we were at the hangar? And we were kind of like having dinner, and we put the TV, the projector up outside, and we hooked up the Nissan Juke's Bluetooth system, and we were watching old car movies outside the hangar. It was just amazing.
No, I think 10-year reunion. We're gonna have to figure out some way, somehow, how we can get back there to do a 10-year reunion. It's just too epic. But now we're about to run out of time. I know you've still got meetings and stuff to go to. So guys, this weekend, go check out. It's called SpeedWeek. RoadStop goes to SpeedWeek. It's a story of the first one and the trek that went in, the guys and the personalities and the amount of tires we destroyed. And that's not in racing, that was just getting there. And probably, which is the most epic motor event that's ever happened in South Africa. And I know there's a bunch of guys that's going, oh, no. Yeah, if you speak to anyone that did SpeedWeek, they'll all agree. The one time when it was about cars and racing and being good camaraderie and friends, and it was epic. And I just, Peter, I thank you. I know Jan is gone and we all miss him,
badly.
But you guys, thank you, because what you guys actually created changed our lives. It really did. It gave
Thank you,
so
Joe.
many people so many memories and stuff we could never give back. So
Yeah.
and it cost me selling my Valiant on the pad. My wife's
Yes.
still angry at me. Peter, thank you
I
so
think the
much.
Valiant went to a really good home.
Exactly.
So,
I still go visit it every now and then. So that's a good one. Oh, but Peter, thank you so much, man. Be safe
yeah.
on that side. Look after
Thank you,
yourself.
Joe.
And
Yeah, thank you for having me.
no,
And thank you
thanks
to
so
the
much.
listeners.
Thanks for being on the show, man. All right.
All
Cheers.
right.